Hey everyone, welcome back with Bino Mac, where today we're going to of course continue our playthrough of Legends of Wrestling for the Nintendo GameCube. And this time we're going to go to the Pacific territory. So we're going to go to places, you know, like Seattle. So let's go wild.
This is the main event of the evening. From Venice Beach, California, towering in at 6 feet 8 inches and weighing in at approximately 300 pounds, the man with the largest arms in the world, Hulk Hogan. Please welcome to the arena, hailing from Tehran, Iran, standing at 6 feet and tipping the scales at an amazing 275 pounds, former world heavyweight and tag team champion, the Iron Sheik. And his opponent, hailing from Atlantic City, New Jersey, towering in at 6 feet 4 inches and tipping the scales at an amazing 445 pounds. He is the master of the 5 count, King Kong Bundy.
Oh boy. Starting off with a good old-fashioned three-way dance for this video, folks. Might as well be a four-way dance with the size of King Kong Bundy here, but I don't know, he gets like a 5 count or something like that, but I don't know, that'd be a pretty cool detail if they had like that as a stipulation for this game. The unfortunate issue about this game, it's kind of weird when you think about it, because in the PS1 games from Acclaim, they had, you know, pretty much every match type you could imagine for its time. So it's amazing that when they went to the PS2, they just kind of said screw all that and, you know, pretty much got rid of all its awesome match types and stuff like that that they already had accumulated. King Kong Bundy's so big that he literally just got pushed over gently by the Iron Sheik. And he literally he couldn't get back up for a second. That was crazy. I've never even seen that kind of move in a wrestling game, honestly. But I don't know, it's just kind of sad that I think they kind of did downgrade the games in a lot of ways from, you know, PS1 to PS2, which is so weird. You think it would have just been easier to port everything over, but I don't know how game development works. Stupid Iron Sheik, always going after freaking Hulk Hogan. I gotta say, they got a little pretty generous with Iron Sheik's physique in this game too. Because he usually, I mean, he was a very highly athletic guy back in his day, but I don't know, I don't think he had like those abs, you know. It was always kind of like a smooth power lifter kind of physique, you know what I mean? Oof. Oh man, that would have been pretty sick if I could have landed that suplex to the outside. But hey, I mean, we can still do it. The arena design, I think I mentioned before though, I love the arena design in this game. You know, a lot of times I think a lot of the coolest arenas that they have is when like games get to go kind of wild with the arenas and, you know, just kind of create something cool and unique and stuff that's based off of other things rather than, you know, go outside the box with the designs, you know. Like this one's obviously a really cool area, you know, with the entranceway. I don't think this is the arena with like in the alley, but that's like a really cool arena too. And obviously, you know, I do love the, I don't really like it in WWE too much because it's just something that was never belonged in there, but like I do like it when, you know, other companies like WCW, I think they're the best when they had like the logos in the rings, kind of like in the ring right now. I think that was always really cool. We got a ref bump in, you know. The refs, they know at this point, whenever they enter a match with Hulk Hogan, he's running into them. And they're going to take that bump. Holy shit. It's amazing how big they made King Kong Bundy too. It's really sad though they did pass because I I remember reading he wasn't married. I don't think he had any kids, but he had lots of cats. And you know, I guess they had to like split up and figure out how to get homes for all of them, and that's just sad to leave them behind. Because, you know, I got cats of my own, and they're my favorite kind of creatures to, you know, to domesticate and stuff like that. You know, I got my cat right here up at my bedside, you know, hanging out with me right now. And they can be huge assholes. I mean, all those things that, you know, cats being jerks and selfish at times and stuff like that is all true, but they are also some of the sweetest animals you'll ever see, and they're adorable as hell. Dogs are probably my number 2 though. But I don't know, it's specific dogs. Big dogs are awesome, right? Because, you know, those are the ones that are like the tame ones that are all, you know, super nice and friendly and usually good with kids. And it's not about the breed necessarily. There are some breeds that do have reputations and stuff like that, but a lot of times it's just how you treat the animal and you know, the love that you show it. You know, you neglect them and you don't pay attention as much as you should and stuff like that. That's usually when they kind of a little more vicious in my experience. But then again, I mean, there's also, you know, like small dogs I have, like my little pug, and you know, he unfortunately passed recently, but you know, him and my Dachshund, who's pretty much like the King Kong Bundy of those, you know, wiener dogs and stuff like that. Like literally, like he's not my dog specifically. Oh wow, there goes Bundy. But he's not my dog specifically, but you know, my dad's dog and stuff. And holy crap, man, that is one big fat dog. He's like 5 times the size he should be. You know, he can't even freaking work out. He can't even go for a walk anymore. He's so fat, combined with the fact of how old he is. And you know, chicks, you know, of course, you know, they think he's the cutest thing ever. But if he rolled over and they seen like his underside, oof, that mindset would change right away. God damn it, hit him with the damn bat. Because I don't know, he's literally so fat. He's got other pieces of his body that have somehow formed to grow just to store more pieces of his fat in his body. I've never seen anything on him. He's got all these weird gross bumps on him and stuff, but I don't know. Well, he's not a total asshole. He's a pretty nice dog, you know, all things considered. But he obviously, you know, he's a small dog, so he also likes to start crap with dogs, you know, 10 times his size. That's what I mean, you know. I like big dogs because, you know, they just have better temperaments in most cases. Alright, now as you guys can tell in this match, there's obviously something severely wrong with the game going on right now. You know, you can just look at the screen and see that, you know, something's obviously out of the ordinary here. Of course, I just got done with my match with the Iron Sheik, and of course this moron thinks he can take me on again. I mean, what was the game thinking? What was Iron Sheik thinking here? I know he hates Hulk Hogan and, you know, thinks he's a turkey and stuff like that, but I don't really understand what was going through his mind here. But no, in all seriousness, obviously you can see my costume is messed up. It's corrupted, and here's the thing. So I found out, like I think I mentioned in the previous episode, that in this game for characters with their secondary costumes, I think you can edit, you know, you can edit any of the costumes for the characters in this game, the second outfits, I should say. And so I was like, okay, well, you know what, I'm gonna, you know, make myself an American-made Hulk Hogan attire, you know, and we're gonna have some cool extra outfits to showcase in this series, just like I do with my Aki playthroughs, and it's gonna be awesome. Obviously that did not happen. You can even see Hulk Hogan, he's got like the bandana on, but like the textures aren't there, and that's the issue going on right now. I think you can even, if you look close enough, you can see he has like the wrist tape on still, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's an emulator issue. I don't know if that was, because I never edited the attires in this game, but I tried with Created Wrestlers 2, and yeah, it's just like all the textures are messed up. They won't show up anymore for my characters. It's a huge pain in the ass, and I'm gonna try for a few matches to get it working again. I figured at the very least, you know, this would be a very funny thing to showcase for this video, you know, just for to show off. But yeah, it's pretty annoying, and now I can't even revert the other costume back to normal, unfortunately. So I think if I go back to my primary costume, though, everything should be fine. But that's just kind of, that is so lame that I can't access a feature that was intended in the game. So once again, I don't know. This could be because the first game, you know, it is kind of, I haven't experienced glitches too often in this game, but it's obviously just not a very, it's a very buggy kind of game. So, you know, obviously you can tell just by watching with all the physics and stuff like that, but, you know, it is a pain in the ass, so we're going to give it a few more tries and see what happens, but, hopefully, things end up working out for the end. Just dragging him around here. Just dragging him around. He has no say. Let's drag him in here, folks. And with the suplex, and we're gonna hit him with the leg drop. Ah, he keeps calling up his damn match. Alright, let's go for the pin. That is not what I wanted to do. Alright, let's go for the submission instead. Yeah, sometimes I forget how to pin in this game. It's like such a weird button. Beautiful, ain't he? Yeah, look at that freaking Iron Sheik. What were they thinking when they made like these character end screens? Like, it's more terrifying than freaking the Street Fighter 2 things back in the day. Alright, now we got Captain Lou Albano taking on Terry Funk, and as you see, I had to switch back my costume because I couldn't figure out how to get the textures to work. It worked fine when I was, you know, editing the parts and create a wrestler, and then, you know, as soon as I start the matches up, that's when the issues arise, and it takes like, I'm still spending like, you know, the extra, what feels like 5 fucking minutes on the loading screens that you guys don't see, waiting for them to try and actually load in the outfits, so, you know, the game's trying in some capacity, but unfortunately we're probably going to have to stick with, I don't even know what the hell just happened right there. I think I was in like a mid-move animation or something. But, yeah, this has turned out to be a pretty buggy game, a lot more than I remember, which could be an emulator issue too, like I said. But yeah, we're probably going to have to just stick with the primary Hulk Hogan outfit, which admittedly I do like better. But damn, you know, we could have had, you know, Territory Hulk Hogan, you know, Terry the Boulder. We could have had freaking American-made Hulk Hogan. Maybe I could have made the. Oh, jeez, it's always whenever I'm recording videos or having conversations, I can't ever remember the proper names for things. But, you know, I'm just by myself, I can. But, you know, that Mr. America, I think it was. You know, I could have made that, like an outfit of him for that. That would have been pretty sick. But it looks like it's not meant to be, unfortunately, guys. So, you know, not necessarily my fault, but I guess I still will apologize for it. It's kind of weird though. Why did they make Lou Albano just a regular wrestler in this game? Maybe he did compete and I just don't know, honestly, because there are a lot of wrestlers that start out as managers, so that makes sense. But obviously my history on a lot of these guys isn't always the most up to date. Seems like it's the three-way dance episode though here though too, which is better than a lot of one-on-ones. Gets pretty repetitive. Man, I love just the physics of this game and how goofy the wrestlers can look. Like that, how he couldn't even throw the freaking trash can in the ring. That is pretty awesome. But Lou Albano, man, I feel like he doesn't get enough credit, you know, for bringing in Cyndi Lauper and starting the 80s boom and stuff like that. And it's too bad. I don't know how true it is, but a lot of people say that Cyndi Lauper's career didn't go as far as it could have been, and some people blame her involvement with the wrestling industry. And I just don't really get it for that time, especially, you know. I think things have changed quite a lot for celebrities, but like it seems like celebrities used to be involved a lot more back in the day, and now that's just kind of not necessarily the case. And I don't know. I mean, 2010 had like that celebrity guest GM for the nights, and people hated that. I didn't think they were too bad, but I was also just like a freaking dumb kid at the time, so if I watched them back now, I probably wouldn't appreciate them as much. But you know, people always love to complain about the guy saying, and you guys will have a match at the Summerfest, or the Summerfest, I think it was. And John Cena was like, so you mean the Summer Slam, right? And you could just tell like John Cena was just so irritated at that point. But I don't know, I mean, they kind of had some cool ones, I guess, you know, like William Shatner was on there. Jerry Springer was alright, I suppose. I mean, they did kind of the most PG era of like PG Jerry Springer episode type thing they could do, but I don't know. It was kind of cool, I guess. I like to show baggage, but I think it's just, you know, just kind of like with wrestling, you gotta take that stuff with a grain of salt, you know. But it's very easy to get invested in those storylines. And the chair is so satisfying in this game too. But yeah, Cyndi Lauper, I mean, I loved her music too. I mean, you know, Girls Just Want to Have Fun is an awesome track. Of course, they have the Goonies song. That was a fantastic movie as well. And I think she made a song for that movie. I could be wrong. I thought it was specifically for that. Good Enough For You is Good Enough For Me. That was a good track. But the 80s, what I loved about a lot of the 80 girls that sang is they had a very, you know, distinct voice at the time. Even like the most popular songs, I think it was kind of like rock, but like it almost feels like its own version of rock. I'm not a music maestro guy. I don't know what specifically that would be called, other than like pop music. But you know, the 80s tracks had some good stuff. You know, I love Pat Benatar, and she was pretty good at what she did. Hit Me With Your Best Shot. Blondie was always really good too. She had a really sad life, unfortunately. I won't go into details with this episode though, but she had a lot of good songs, I will say, you know. Heart of Glass is a fantastic song. And of course, you know, Cyndi Lauper too. I did love, one of my favorite interactions was they were doing some sort of promo shoot or whatever, and then Roddy Piper comes out, and she has a good singing voice, very unique, but her speaking voice is, I mean, she literally just sounds like a 5-year-old kid, and it's just so funny seeing her argue with Roddy Piper. You know, especially since she's like half the size and stuff of him too. Which, I don't know, I probably already talked about this stuff. My memory's so terrible and shoddy, I can't remember what I've gone over in the past a lot of the times. Man, Terry Funk's weighing into Albano. But it is really cool, you know, Lou Albano, you know, being able to have those connections in the music industry and getting that many more eyes on the product for WrestleMania. And Mr. T was obviously a pretty big part of WrestleMania 1, 2. Both of those ones, you know, he had the boxing match with Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper hated him and wanted to box him for real because he was a celebrity in their sport. Andy Kaufman, I think, was kind of like the original, wasn't he? You know, in you know, Tennessee, his rivalry, beating up all the women and stuff like that. And, you know, having his run-ins with Jerry the King Lawler and stuff. So celebrities in wrestling can be really good in some of the most memorable things there, but it kind of depends on how much they put into it. Was it Lawrence Taylor who wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow at WrestleMania 11? I'm not very good with sports stars either, but he was like the football player, and I think they even had the like battle royal at the beginning of the show too. That had like all the players against a whole bunch of wrestlers and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. Steven, I can't remember his last name, but it was the guy from Green Arrow. It was in 2015. He took on Stardust in a tag team match. That was pretty cool.
His opponent, hailing from Union City, Tennessee, at a height of 5 feet 8 inches, and tipping the scales at an amazing 240 pounds, Coco Beware!
I'll say the modern day ones are Logan Paul. People can't stand the guy personally. It's kind of an old school thing, but I think that does really do him a lot of favors as far as, you know, his wrestling character goes. But now we got Coco Beware, the Birdman. I love how just absolutely angry and furious he looked when he was doing that bird taunt too. One of my favorite jobber matches of all time too was, I forget who he was even facing because he was a jobber, but when he was just Coco Ware. He was facing the Jobber, and I guess the Jobber took control of the match when he's, you know, you're never supposed to do that. Coco Ware, he just kicked his ass, beat the crap out of him, showing him, like, you know, put him in his place and stuff like that. And when he went for the pin, he just slapped the Jobber as hard as he could in the face. But there's a lot of theories as to what happened. Some people say that the Jobber took control of the match, and because he pushed Coco into the corner, which is made him look weak, so Coco had to make an example out of him. Other people say the Jobber was a racist and said the N-word backstage. I don't know what the actual root cause of that was, but it made for a very entertaining squash match, I'll tell you that. And Coco Ware did not put up with his shit at all. Another good one was obviously the Skyscrapers. You know, it was Dan Spivey and Sid Vicious taking out the Jobbers, and there was that one guy where it was apparently his birthday, or his girlfriend was in like the crowd in front row, and for some reason he thought it would be a fantastic idea, a great idea to just, you know, not sell anything that those guys were putting out. And I felt bad for his partner, because, you know, they were already going to be in for a rough time regardless, just because of how Jobbers had to be treated back then and stuff. You know, they always got their asses whipped, you know, for the realism and stuff like that at the time. And yeah, let's just say this guy, you know, he got his ass kicked in the arena, kept getting up and showing up. But like they say that I think it was Teddy Long was telling the story, and you know, you can see a clip of the match and everything too. Somehow that was a weapon attack, and I didn't even hit him yet. But yeah, so there was a clip of it, and Teddy Long was telling the story, and I believe he said that once they got to the back, that guy was not getting back up again, because you know, obviously he went into business for himself. So I think they took him to the side or whatever out in the backstage area, and they kicked the ever-loving shit out of him. We got him again, folks, making him look goofy. Happens to me all the time in the hockey games. I always go to jump out at somebody, and they either just get back in the ring, or they just kind of walk to the side or something like that, and I miss. But what an idiots, you know. You get into the wrestling business, your whole job is pretty much just to make other people look good. And then you go out there and be an asshole and try and steal the show, when like there's no way like you're gonna beat these like fucking dudes that are like 10 feet, you know, or an entire foot taller than you are, and are like, you know, almost 300 pounds of muscle, and you're just some like goofball with like a balding head. Like, come on, man, what was that guy thinking? And what do you even get out of it? You just lose your job at the end of the day and get an ass whooping at the same time. Just so crazy, man. But hey, I mean, matches like that always make for a good time, in my opinion. But I mean, like I said, if those things happen today, though, I think a lot of people would have way more issue with it.
And his opponent from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, towering in at 5 feet 11 inches and tipping the scales at an amazing 235 pounds. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. He is the excellence of execution, Bret Hitman Hart.
Ah, he got me. I think we got each other somehow. I think you might even get a bonus if you don't take any damage in matches, but I don't know. I don't think I've been able to do that yet. Yeah, take that, Hitman. More like shit, man. Got him. But yeah, as I was saying, I don't think that stuff would fly today, you know, honestly, because even the Matt Capitelli stuff with Hardcore Holly is not very well received and stuff, and it's a little bit of a different situation. It's kind of a guy beating, you know, what he perceives to be respect out of someone who wasn't taking the business seriously. And like I mentioned probably like 20 times, you know, I feel for Holly in that situation, what he did to Rene Dupree, that was just an asshole, bringing your personal problems and frustrations out into someone. I mean, we don't necessarily, even if like Rene Dupree was an entire asshole about the situation, and you know, he was like, hey, man, fuck you, Holly, you're not, I didn't do that, so I'm not paying for your ticket or anything like that or whatever, which I wouldn't believe. I don't think, he doesn't seem like that kind of guy, and I don't think anybody believes that he's that kind of guy. But even then, like, to bring it out in a match and still kick his ass and stuff like that, what an asshole thing to do. That said, the Matt Cappotelli thing, like, it kind of frustrates me. Like, people getting mad at him over the Rene Dupree situation, I can understand completely, and that should be the thing that people get pissed off, when they talk about Holly. But they always go for, like, the Matt Cappotelli stuff, man. It's like, Cappotelli was, I'm not in the wrestling industry, and there are a lot of people that are in the bubble. They kind of, look at it and say that wasn't right, too. So, I take my opinion with a grain of salt. But for me, it was just always like, man, obviously, all these guys, they weren't taking it seriously, and they got on TV time, and, look at it from Maven's point of view. He even said, he understood everything. Raven was respectful. He understood the business to a degree, keep your head down. These guys worked, 10, 20 years for their opportunity to get to where they are now. And, Maven, for example, he came in and he immediately got spotlight and storylines and TV and a good, really good contract compared to other guys in the company and stuff, just because, he was on a reality TV show. And that's kind of what these guys were too, and they were goofing around, not taking the situation seriously, and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I definitely understand Holly's position as far as that went. And wrestling is a very silly industry with a lot of certain things, but I don't know. I feel like Holly, once again, was kind of an old guard from a different era, and I feel like he kind of like got the brunt of that kind of stuff, Same with JBL, JBL, asshole, he bullied people like Joey Styles and stuff like that, and was an asshole. What is Bret Hart doing right now? Is he going to get into the ring? There we go. He's moving at least. But, like, I wish people, I don't know, it's weird. I don't mind people hating on these guys. I just wish they would hate on them for the right reasons, if that made sense. Hold them accountable for their actions. But, people always, even like, I've looked at that Brock Lesnar powerbomb spot before. Because everybody always says that, like, Holly stiffed him and stuff, and that they can tell because they looked at, that's never how a powerbomb was. The recipient of the powerbomb has gone up, and like Holly intentionally tried to lock his arms. I've seen a bunch of power bombs. It's unusual. I've seen a bunch of power bombs, and guys like Spike Dudley especially, lighter guys and stuff like that go out for power bombs and hook their arms in the same way that Holly did that time. I think it's just what people want to believe, And there's been so many people in the wrestling industry saying, nah, that's just a mistake. That's not what really happened, it was just an accident and all this other sort of stuff. And no, people are just always in the comments saying, nah, that's not the case. I know for a fact. I watched wrestling, yada yada. It's like, people will believe what they want to believe. But then again, maybe that's what a lot of people are thinking when I'm talking right now. But what are you gonna do, I mean, I respect other people's opinions at the very least. Or at least the right to have them, I should say.
1, 2, 3.
Alright, here we are. We are the Pacific Champion. So now we just have to do one more defending match, and once we're done with that, we'll just have the Southwest Championship and then the United States Heavyweight Championship. I don't know what's after that, honestly. But I wouldn't be surprised if like the United States Championship Tour was the final, path in the game.
His opponent, hailing from Krakow, Poland, at a height of 5 feet 10 inches and weighing in at 245 pounds, Ivan Putski.
Remember a buddy of mine's parents used to love the Polish Hammer and would, go to the territories and watch them and stuff like that. because obviously, you know, he was Polish, and you know, it's as goofy as it was. I mean, just at the time, I mean, the ethnicity of the wrestler. I mean, the reason why they had, you know, all that stuff is because it really worked. You know, the foreign heels, you know, the good guy that's, you know, represents an entire group of people. That stuff worked. Even in the 2000s, you know, Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio for a lot of they brought in a lot of Hispanic viewers for obvious reasons. But obviously, I mean, I think at this point in wrestling, we understand now that it's not really the ethnicity of the guy. It's just how good they are. You know, Eddie and Rey Mysterio obviously are loved by everybody. Whereas, you know, like obviously Sin Cara didn't really catch on with people. The Great Khali didn't really catch on with the Indian demographic. Same with Jinder Mahal. You know, so it's all about, you know, who, you know, just pushing guys, you know, who deserve that spot, and I think the rest will come. Also, I watched on YouTube the other day. I never even heard of this dude, but it was from like the WWE Vault. I occasionally get recommendations from that, and usually it's like matches on Velocity of like indie wrestlers that were never in the WWE that were big at the time, you know, their tryout matches and stuff like that. There was also like, I think, a few matches that showed Chris Canyon's, you know, Mortis character being tested out on Velocity and stuff. But this one was different. It was, I think it was around the 90s. Like early 90s, it was around the time apparently Bruce Beefcake was going to debut a new character called, he didn't have a name, I guess, but like I guess fans just called him Furface or something like that, and he started out as one character in one look, and then eventually like the last two matches he showed up in, he had like a completely different look, and I think he just showed up in like house show matches and stuff like that, and would just occasionally attack heels. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't the most exciting stuff, but it was just like some character I've never heard of before. And they say that a lot of people, I think, have said that like that was like the precursor to a Zodiac character, you know, with some of his taunts and stuff. And apparently he came back because that was when he had his facial injury, you know, during the skiing accident, I believe, with Hulk Hogan. And they were bringing him back, and he had to have some sort of mask or face covering. And that was their solution, you know, they were going to make a new character and that wore a mask and like other weird outfits and stuff like that. It would have been a pretty forgettable character, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, I guess people weren't comfortable with working with Bruce Beefcake during his facial injury because they didn't want to like make it worse or whatever. So they scrapped that character, just had him continue with the barbershop, you know, interview segments and just wear the mask and stuff like that. And then eventually he teamed with Hulk Hogan and, you know, WrestleMania 9 and stuff like that. And you know, the barber character was pretty popular and pretty over, and the barbershop segment was pretty cool as well, so, you know, no complaints as far as I'm concerned. And honestly, if he did change his character at that time, somebody pointed out that, you know, we would have never gotten, you know, Mari Jannetty, you know, trying to jump out the window to escape from Shawn Michaels. So, hey, I mean, some things were never meant to be, and it was a good thing.
Come on, let's go!
Oof. Come on, man. I just want to finish the match. God damn it. One more move and he's done. Alright. There we go. This match is over. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Check out next week's episode on Wrestling Wednesday. But above all, please remember to have a nice day.